everybody, and welcome to a jam-packed Houston Raceway Park. Well, the folks are jam-packing their motorhomes and their cars and their station wagons and their trucks in the parking area because it's raining and raining hard. The temperature dropped about 10 degrees in just a span of about 1 hour, but we did manage to get 2 rounds of racing competition in. We're going to show you all the highlights coming up here in just a bit, right here on TNN Motorsports. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Fry, and at least I'm high and dry for the time being. We've got some interesting things for you, highlights, and we're going to get a chance to sit down and talk with the guys that are running for the Winston Championship. Right here this weekend, what are they running for? Cash, and a lot of it. If you add up the cash awards, the contingencies, you've got close to $1,750,000, $1,700,000, the total purse that's up for grabs here this weekend. We'd also like to congratulate the 8 contestants in the Big Bud Shootout for Top Fuel. Coming up in Pomona, they'll run for $100,000, and there you see the lineup, not a duck among them. Doug Coletta, that guy running for the Rookie of the Year, makes it. He'll take on Joe Amato, of course, Selzy, Corey Mack, Bernstein, all the usual suspects in there. So congratulations, and you'll see that right here on TNN Motorsports in 2 weeks. Now let's take a look as we see some puddles. Still a little bit damp out here at the racetrack. Let's take a look at our ladder in Top Fuel here. You know that Selzy and Herbert advance. Great matchups with Dixon and Connie, and Eddie Hill still looking to win his first race in more than 2 years. Amato gets the Exide Batteries car. Bernstein and Dunn should be fun, and you know that it's going to be a little fisticuffs. Well, maybe not quite that bad, but Corey Mack and Jim Head in round number 2. Let's take a look back at some of the highlights and some of the other matchups in the opening stanza earlier today under blue skies and lots of sunshine. Kenny Bernstein and Mike Dunn. Dunn and the Mopar machine, they have accomplished everything except winning one this season. 4 times to the finals, 4 times punched out by Team Winston. Luck of the draw, they get a tough customer, Kenny Bernstein in round 1. And the luck of the draw, they would lose part of the quickest side-by-side run ever. Bernstein's 4:58 beats Dunn's 4:58.
Kenny, we are thinking that is the quickest side-by-side drag race in history. Both of you 4:58.
Wow, heck of a run. I tell you, you got to be ready when you run Dunn and those Mopar boys. But hats off to the Bud King team, Lee Beard and the guys for doing a great job getting it ready.
That'll help you move up in the points a bit.
Well, Dunn and I are obviously fighting for 4th and 5th. We kind of keep trading back every week. Someday he gets the ace, sometimes I get the ace, and well, we still got some way to go. The deal is today, you just win the best you can.
Mike Dunn deserves a better fate. 4:58, he is out of here. Tony Schumacher, the new look Exide Batteries machine. Bob Brandt, Larry Frazier. The crew guys, there is Jimmy Prock, the Tenneco Automotive. Mathematically, the blue cars got a chance to win the Winston Championship. They would have to win it from here on out. And that would not happen. He smoked the tires. Watch this. Schumacher gets the win with a 4.70. You would have figured Amato had enough race car to take him out. So congratulations to the winners, the combatants for the championship staying alive. Selzy, tough matchup in the next round. Vandergrift throwing some 60s out here this weekend. He gets the Miller Lite car. On the B side, Schumacher goes up against Louie the Lizard and the Bud King, and Corey Mack and Jim Head. There's not a whole lot of love lost between those two. We're going to look back at round number 1 of Funny Car and see how the champion did and how the guy that would be champion did. All coming up right here next on TNN.
TNN's exclusive coverage of the 2nd annual Matco Tools Supernationals is brought to you by Mopar, Chrysler Corporation Parts, and the Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge, Jeep, and Eagle dealers who sell and install them.
1 week ago, on the way to his 3rd win of the season, John Force delivered what should have been a knockout punch to his rivals for the NHRA Funny Car crown. An unreal 4.78-second qualifying run, well under the national record.
I'm kind of the guy that learned how to fight under pressure.
But Force actually went too quick as he never was able to back up the new record and score a crucial 20 points. That granted a reprieve to Force's closest pursuer, Ron Capps, and kept the high-speed slugfest going for another round.
You're knocked down and, you know, maybe you're hurt and somebody's threw an uppercut and you don't know if you can get back up off the canvas. Hey, man, I'll jump right back up and jump up on the ropes and jump off the ropes.
For both drivers, it's a battle royale, but it may be the crew chief cornerman who will make the difference.
I got my guys motivated, and we come out slugging in '93, and we won for 5 years, hopefully for another.
When it comes down to these back-to-back-to-back-to-back races, you got to have a good crew, and I do.
Let's take a look at the points. The way they stand, Force has accumulated his with 3 wins and 9 final rounds. Ron Capps, 5 wins, 7 final rounds. You got to go rounds. About 20 points per round. It's not out of the woods. Ron Capps could run down John Force for the championship. Here's the way they will pair up. Look at Cruz. 11th time this year. He's the big kahuna, the top dog, the #1 guy. Tom Hoover continues to run well. Look, Force and Tony on the same side of the ladder. That could be a factor here this weekend. Randy Anderson qualified well. Capps gets Al Hoffman some fun in round #1. And Etchels and Glenn Micris, a guy that set a speed record here just a couple of years ago in the funny car class. Well, let's go back and take a look at some of the funny car action. There you go. Mr. Warmth, Al Hoffman, the GM Performance Parts car against Ron Capps. Now, Hoffman's been throwing 480s out with regularity the last couple of weeks. Puts a 480 on the board here. It could be a long quarter-mile run for the Copenhagen Chevrolet. Not today, Al. Ron Capps gets the win, 498, and the Copenhagen car is staying alive. He goes to round #2.
You had no oil pressure staging the car?
Sometimes we do really stupid things out here.
That's one of them.
I did the burnout. There's still no oil pressure. Roland looked into me right before I go up on stage to make sure everything's okay. He looked in. I'm pointing down at the gauge, and he walked away. And I thought, well, he either didn't see me or he didn't care. And we've had a problem with the gauge before, and I said, you know what? We're getting down the wire. I got to go out, and I got to hit the throttle. At half track, I actually looked down at the oil pressure gauge, believe it or not. That's another stupid thing I did, but oh well.
Oh well.
We were supposed to see Randy Anderson in round 1. He qualified well, but he would be a no-show. Here's Dave Reeve.
Well, after a career-best 484 and a career-best speed of 318 miles an hour, the Parts America funny car of Randy Anderson sits in the pits just seconds before your round 1 matchup with Jack Wyatt. What happened?
Well, they started the car up and heard a clicking noise. We tore it down and found a broken idler gear, and it takes an extensive amount of engine take it apart to get it changed, and we weren't able to get it done in time.
Well, bad news for him means good news for Jack Wyatt, the privateer out of Iowa. We'll get a free ride in round '1.
In other round 1 action, here you go. It's the Castrol Syntac machine, the new look Selena race car. Tony Pedregon, wheelman for John Force. He's got Jim Epler in the Easy Care car on the other side of the racetrack. It's a good old race car. Went to the finals earlier this season. Wouldn't go to the finals right here. 498 for the win. Let's get a preview on another great first round matchup with Laura Bird.
Tim Wilkerson's car has been through some drama this weekend. On Friday, it caught fire and melted the first body. They put the backup body on it, and Saturday's qualifying almost hit the guardrail. Tim, you're a little squirrely this weekend.
Yeah, we got a big secret going on for John Force in the first round, though. You're going to see him go down, I think.
And that secret's a little squirrel that provides all the nuts and bolts that keep this car together.
Well, let's see. The way I figured, that means there are 2 squirrels on the starting line. Wilkerson in one lane, John Force in the other lane. Hey, Tim, talk's cheap. Champs in the other lane. It's time to put up or shut up. Round 1. Well, Tim put up, at least for a little while, and then John Force shut him up. 483, 319 miles an hour, and the gold car advances. He's bad. Into the round #2. It'll be Cruz Pedregon who advanced against Tom Hoover's Pioneer car. Look at this. Tony Pedregon, John Force, just the way the champ planned it at the start of the season. Jack Wyatt will take on Ron Capps. And Whit Bazemore quietly running 80s here this weekend. He gets Glenn Micris. Let's find out about the new look Tony Pedregon car. Let's go in the pits with Dave Reeve.
Bob, did you happen to notice the hood of Tony Pedregon's Castrol Syntex Ford? The beautiful Selena, the late, great Tejano singer, is on top of that car this weekend, and Tony Pedregon is here to tell us what that's all about.
Well, it's really a tribute. The whole concept derived in a conversation and a buzz that I had with John. Action Collectible Performance Companies put the program together, got with the Quintanilla family, with Selena's family, and they were really excited. They understood drag racing. They knew who I was. So it just took off from there. We couldn't have done it in a better place here than Houston. The fan reaction has been outstanding, and it's really gone above and beyond anything I could have expected.
She certainly is a great singer. Can she sing Tony Pedregon into the next round? Well, John Force comes up next on the jukebox. We'll find out about that in just a little bit.
Lots of stuff happening here, and of course there's always lots going on in Hazard County. And for daily help in a race and romance and Roscoe P. Coltrane, don't miss the Dukes of Hazzard weekdays 5 p.m. Eastern right here on America's Country Home, TNN.
Drag racers are notorious and creative pranksters. So in this Halloween weekend, we asked them about trick-or-treat nights in their past.
Spider-Man. He was the man. I mean, anybody can climb a wall, shoot webs, and sling from city through the city is definitely the man. As brothers, we used to steal each other's costumes, so I'd probably have a Tony the Tiger costume with a Frankenstein head, and then Tony would have the other half, and then Frank would have the Scarecrow or something.
So we all dressed up as girls, thought we were cool, but I think it's some kind of fetish we might have had. Probably brought on all these problems in later life, which maybe become a top fuel driver, you know?
But the greatest thing about Halloween used to be, like I was always one of the kids that was like one of the tough kids, was taking like eggs and throwing them at the kids that were kind of like the wimpy kids, and it would wreck their whole night on them. And that used to be more fun than getting the damn candy.
So I bought a huge pumpkin, and I hollowed it out and wore it for the night. And I was sick for a month after that, and my hair stunk and changed colors. It was the dumbest idea I ever had, but it was an original.
I think my favorite Halloween costume would be John Force.
Give Warren Johnson credit. He has decimated the Pro Stock pack on the way to his 4th Winston Championship. But a tip of the cap should also go to Jake Coughlin. It was at this race 1 year ago that Jeggy scored his first national event win and only his 2nd Pro Stock appearance. And the rookie sensation has added a hat trick of wins since then. With 2 races to go, quite a points battle is shaping up between Jeg, Kurt Johnson, and Jim Yates for the number 2 slot. And tens of thousands of dollars are at stake.
Lots of cash right there, and the folks that were in the grandstands under the blue skies and sunshine earlier in the day here at the Matco Tools Supernationals got to see some great action in our Pro Stock Eliminator back in round number 1. Let's take a look at the ladder, the way they paired up. Kurt Johnson wound up as the number 1 qualifier, beat his old man out by 0.03 of a second. Look at that, both the Coughlins on Kurt's side of the ladder, and that could help the yellow and black team as they bid for the number 2 finishing spot. Over on the other side, Warren finished number 2 in qualifying. He's got Vieri Gaines in the opening round. Jim Yates hasn't won since Pomona, and the Cowboy, Mark Powick, has been running very well of late. He'd get a test from the Eagle 1 car of Ron Krischer. And let's find out exactly how much of a test he would get. It's a finish line engine from Mike Thomas underneath the hood of the Eagle 1 car. Mark Powick in the Summit Racing Machine, who set a ET record here a couple of years ago at 7:22 when he was the baddest hombre in the block. Right now, he would just love to pick up his first win in quite some time on the tour. Krischer a little quicker out of the gate. Could he steal it? Nope. Mark Powick gets the win just barely. His 6.99 beat a 7.05. That was close, Mark.
After losing on a hole shot last weekend in Dallas, Mark Powick was mentally destroyed down here. Good to see you smiling. 6.99.
Great, Steve. You know, everybody's been working so well together, and it's a team effort. I didn't do my job last weekend. I think I might have been a little late first round. I'm just a nervous wreck, but Summer Racing Pontiac came back to life, and we're still in it, and I'm going to be on the tree next round, I guarantee you.
He's got a horse he can ride.
Woo! I love to watch him do that. Woo! Oh, I hurt myself. Jake Coughlin on board. The Jags car needs to keep going rounds to put some distance between himself and Yates and try to close out Kurt Johnson. He's got a very tough customer. That's the Dick Sherman car. Mark Osborne, 3 times number 1 this year. Finalist last year. In fact, he met Jag in the finals. Out of the gate, great move for Jaggy off the starting line. That's why he's a nominee for Rookie of the Year. And the AAA Road to the Future Award winner, he gets the win on a hole shot. Let's go to the pits and a preview look with Laura Bird.
Troy Coughlin's got his work cut out for him in round 1 because he's up against Kurt Johnson. And ironically enough, Kurt is the only man in contention for 2nd place in the Winston points against your brother, Jaggy. How much is doing this for Jaggy a part of your ambition to win round 1, Troy?
I think it's pretty important for the whole entire Jag's mail order team to finish 2nd in the points here. And if we can be fortunate enough to take out Kurt, I think we can hopefully end his streak and put Jag in 2nd place, and hopefully we can go on and continue to win this race. I think it'd be excellent to win a race here and also in Pomona for the end of the season for the team on our cars and so forth. So
good luck.
Well, John Force has Tony Pedregon. Jay Coughlin's got Troy. Of course, Force also has Austin Coyle, but he doesn't know anything about pro stockers. Here's the AC Delco Chevrolet car. Your number 1 qualifier. Near lane, trying to take out the yellow and black from Jags. Slight advantage. KJ out of the gate. That might be all he needs. Yep, 698. Kurt Johnson gets the win. He beat Troy Coughlin at a 7:03. Good old drag race, but Kurt Johnson advances to the next round. Therefore, he would take on the resurgent Steve Schmidt. Jaggy gets the kid, Richie Stevens, another Rookie of the Year nominee. Warren against the Jersey boy, Martino, and it's Yates against the Cowboy. Let's go into the pit area again and catch up with Laura Bird.
Jim Yates, 1997 Winston champion, says, hey, yeah, I've had a rough year, but don't count me out yet. I know how to do this. I know how to go rounds. Jim, I got to say, George Marnell had the whole shot on you. It was looking very close there.
We knew George was going to be tough out there. You know, he's fighting really hard to get back in the top 10. We're fighting with Kurt and Jaggy trying to get that number 2 spot. So everybody's out there. They got them tuned up as much as they can trying to win this race today.
So there you go. Jim Yates' victory over George Marnell in round 1 means that second point in the Winston point standings is now between Jaggy Coughlin, Kurt Johnson, and you've got it, Jim Yates.
Don't forget, Friday night, right here, TNN, it's Motor Madness. See who comes away with a 1998 Pennzoil World of Outlaws Championship. Don't miss the Channel Lock Fall Classic live Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on TNN Motor Madness, a part of Hey Nerd Week on TNN. More coming up from Houston on TNN.
TNN's exclusive coverage of the second annual Matco Tools Supernationals is brought to you by the more than 2,500 AutoZone stores across America. AutoZone, the best parts in auto parts.
For the second race in a row, the top dogs in Top Fuel are running in the 50s. No, not the 1950s, but rather the 450s. 4.5 seconds in the quarter mile. While world records are certainly a possibility, the focus here is on Winston Championships. Times are running out, but not before round number 2.
Did you ask about round number 2? Well, it happened under conditions that were a little bit nicer than this. That's a lot nicer. It's still raining. They're trying to dry off the track. We'll keep you posted with the status of the Matco Tools Supernationals. But let's go back and look at round 2 in a very fast Top Fuel field. Bob Vandergrift Jr. would take on the Miller Light car. Dale Armstrong, that wacky little scoop they got on top of that thing. Dale loves it. Always the innovator. The Jersey's machine, Vandergrift, running as well this weekend as we've seen him in quite some time. Took out Eddie Hill back in the opening round. Wow, great run. Vandergrift 461, edges out Dixon's 464.
That was a darn good drag race, 61 to a 64.
Oh, that's great, win for the Jerseys team. We've been struggling a little bit, and we'll take it. I mean, that thing had the front end way up in the air for a long time, but was really making a good move. We weren't going to shut it off.
Can you get this car into the 50s where it's going to have to be?
Yeah, it's run 50s before, and we're stepping up on it. We had problems in qualifying, but a 61 shows we're going in the right direction. The Jerseys car will be tough.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble. I always wanted to say that. Corey Mack and Jim Head right here. Jim Head in the unsponsored machine looking for some help for next year. Hey, a win over Corey Mack would look good on the resume. Would he get it? I don't think so. Corey Mack at 4.60 gets the win. He advances into the next round, keeping the pressure on Team Winston.
Corey Mack down here with a little bit of fire, and the blower belt is off. That's why it only ran 296 at 460.
Yeah, well, she's there. We won. That was a big one.
You wanted that one.
You bet I did.
Well known fact that Jim Head is real good friends with Team Winston, and he just put out one of their allies.
Car ran 270 at the 8th mile. That is really hauling. Let's get another preview of round 2 with Dave Reeve.
It's no secret, when you're out of contention for the Winston Championship, sometimes you can plan ahead for 1999. That's just what Lee Beard and Kenny Bernstein have done in their Bud King. Went ahead and moved into test mode. But test mode is back to going rounds. That's because there is a Winston position at stake. When they beat Mike Dunn in the first round, they now realize that they can leapfrog him and gain the 4th spot. So testing is out, going rounds is in. Tony Schumacher is their opponent in round number 2.
Hey, Dave, I don't know if I'd stand in front of Louis the Lizard and use the word frog. Might not be good. The Excite Batteries machine, Tony Schumacher, his dad, Don, was a legend in the funny car ranks. He was to like my era what John Force is to today's era. Just thought I'd throw that in. Kissing up to the champ never hurts. A tire smoker and then pow at the end of the track. Schumacher's got his hands full. He gets the win. A wild ride. He out-pedaled Kenny Bernstein, the king of speed.
When you see the video, it's going to scare you.
Yeah, you know, I spent a lot of time watching you guys on And They Walked Away, and I always pictured all these things. Some great onboard cameras in the And They Walked Away tape, so I learned a whole bunch from them. I knew I cut down a tire. It was pretty obvious. Hopefully we didn't ruin it too bad because...
it's going to be tough to come back from this.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. You know, we laid it over pretty good. And the first chute didn't come out, and I felt it go away, and I threw the other chute out. Luckily, it must have come out right at the same time as it cut it down, but that's the way it is.
And those Steve Evans Learn to Drive videos available to Diamond P location near you. Doug Herbert in the Snap-on Tools machine against Gary Scelzi. Big Red, unbelievable. During the second half of the season, this team just keeps going rounds and going faster. Whoa, did you say faster? How about 326 miles an hour? 4.53 seconds. Poor Herbert went 464. And he got
Gary
trailer.
Scelzi trying to join John Glenn in outer space at 326 miles an hour.
Oh, you got to be kidding me. My God. You know, this thing jacked the front end up, and I mean, it hasn't raised the front end like that in a long time. It was flat flying. I knew it was good, but I had no clue it went 326.
453 to go along with it.
Wow, if we could only get her down to a little 52, we need that 20. Corey's not quitting.
20 bonus points for a record.
Come on, Gary, try to happy up a little bit in these interviews, would you? Wow. Well, that was back in round number 2 before the rains came. Let's take a look at the pairing. Scelzi against Bob Vandergriff Jr. Vandergriff in his 4th semifinal of the year. Doing well in the Jersey's car. And the other side of the ladder, it's going to be Corey McClanathan against Tony Schumacher, if indeed they can get that car fixed. Of course, the weather's certainly going to help them out. Let's find out more about that with Laura.
Since debuting the Excite car at the U.S. Nationals in September, Tony Schumacher and his crew have been waiting to show what this car could do, and this weekend they did with a first round 470-321 and an impressive win over Kenny Bernstein in the second round. But hey, Bob, we saw lots of flame, lots of drama out there. What happened?
Well, it wasn't the flame we were looking for, obviously. The guy had to pedal the car, lost the traction, lost the head gasket, consequently lost the tire. Fortunately, we had the wheelie bar in the car. Tony was safe. We didn't lose a wing, which is really important. Safety Safari was right on him. Larry Frazier, my guys, they got the car back together. We're ready to race.
Good luck in the semifinals.
Thank you.
Bob Brandt, they ought to be able to get that thing fixed, especially with a little bit of the rain delay. We'll take a look at Funny Car, round number 2. All that's coming up next right here on TNN Motorsports.
TNN's exclusive coverage of the second annual Matco Tools Supernationals is brought to you by Mopar, Chrysler Corporation Parts, and the Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge, Jeep, and Eagle dealers who sell and install them.
And time for one of our ever-popular Did You Knows. Right here at this very racetrack in front of our very eyeballs back in 1992, Cruz Pedregon. His first national event win. He'd won a couple of times in the Federal Mogul category, and ironically enough, that race came after the worst week of rain to hit the Houston area in quite some time. Well, let's go back and take a look at round number 2 of funny car activity. It would be that Jack Wyatt who got the bye in the opening round on the far side. He's out of Allerton, Iowa, sponsored by Sammy's Towing. On the near side, it's the Chevrolet, Ron Capps, Copenhagen Z28. It would be a single run, and watch this single run by Ron Capps. Well, I'm not sure that's going to make the walked away videos, but I'm telling you, he could make his own wheel standing tape the way he's been going lately. He goes 1181 if you're keeping score at home, but he gets the 20 points for the win.
Well, we just had the body up on the Cope Camaro and run. It looks like there's no damage. That was a wheel stand reminiscent of Memphis a few weeks ago.
Well, now I feel a little more experienced about it. And what's funny is it went up, and thank God we had a single, first of all, because Jack White could be tough. But this Copenhagen Camaro went right to the moon again, and this time I slowed down. I thought, as it's coming back down, I was going to hit the throttle and trying to ease, and I did. hit it for a second, and it started to come up and I said, that's enough. I don't want to go back into orbit like John Glenn again. I think it's okay.
I think it's okay. Yeah, the guy's coming over and got wheels going this way and the engine's flopping around and Ron's going, it's good, it's good. Now they get an opportunity to keep the pressure right on John Force now because the Copenhagen car did indeed advance. Here comes Glenn Michaels. Back here in 1991, he ran 286 miles an hour in a funny car. That was unheard of at that time. Whit Bazemore, a couple of 480 shots here this weekend. Said to me, said, Bob, I can set the record on this track. See if he can get the win. Got the win, didn't get the record, goes 5.03, and Team Winston Chevrolet staying alive here at Houston.
Well, I know a 5.03 isn't what you want, but you're not beating yourself with those kind of numbers.
We're trying to beat ourselves, Steve. First round especially, but yeah, the win light's all that matters. You know, it's Team Winston. We've done a good job taking a 480 race car, turning it into a 5.0 or 5.10. It's
been brilliant, yeah.
It's been brilliant, but we'll get it back. The thing's a handful to drive. There are a few things wrong with the injector, but makes it hard for me to do a burnout and then back up and all that. But we'll be all right. We're going rounds.
Hey, that's a talent. Not everybody can take a 480 race car and make it a 5.0 car. John Force in the near lane. That's the Castrol Gold Mustang. Ran it in Indy. There's the Selena car. There's John Medlin. Hey, John's running for the championship. Tony's in the far lane. They had that classic final round here in the spring race. Tony beat him with a 484. Could he do it again? What, are you kidding me? Keeping score, it's 4 wins for Tony this year in his career, 20 for John Force. But who's counting? Here comes Cruz Pedregon, the Interstate Batteries machine. 11 times this year, #1. He's won 4 races on the season. Tom Hoover, the last couple of weeks, is running as well as he has in his long and distinguished drag racing career. Has he got enough to stop the green machine? Then again, maybe not. 6:27. Cruz shows you why they pay the drivers the big bucks.
You haven't been in a pedal fest in a while. It's challenging.
Well, stuff's a-flying out there, Steve. It's a weird day. It's about ready to rain. And Hoover, I saw him out there. I left the line. I felt it smoke of tires. But when I saw his header flame go on, I jumped back on the loud pedal there. But it's nice to get a win. Hoover's a veteran. He's a hero of mine growing up. It's good to see him out here. It's his last year. But for Interstate and Hot Rod and everybody, we're just marching away.
John Forrest next in his sights.
As good a matchup as we have in NHRA Winston drag racing will be coming up when the track dries. John Force against Cruz Pedregon. Oh, by the way, John has not beaten Cruz this year. Nuh-uh. On the other side of the ladder, it would be a pretty good old matchup. Ron Capps takes on Whit Bazemore in a battle of the Chevrolets. Let's go down there into the pit area with the Cruiser. Here's the Daver.
As everyone knows, 1 week ago, John Force shocked the funny car world with a 478. Good enough for the record, except for one thing. He didn't back it up. Your 480 is under your own mark that you set here last spring. You're in the same boat as he was last week.
Cars are running big numbers out here. The conditions are right. And, you know, we know the Interstate car's got big numbers in it. And I think Wes has been creeping up on it. But when he saw that 478, I think that lit a little bit of fire there. He's already got a big fire going there. But he's aggressive, and we're out there going to hopefully back it up and get that MBNA cash.
Is that the plan as you get set to race John Force, a guy who incidentally has not beat you yet this year?
Yeah, well, I won't say that's the plan. But anytime we go up there, we have big numbers on our minds. And if the track will hold it, I'm sure Wes will do what it'll take to set the record and hopefully beat Force.
Well, come what may for the Interstate Batteries cars, one thing is for sure, the pieces and parts right here, those could net this team an extra 50 grand. It's all on the table for them.
Cruz ran that 481 earlier in the year to set the record. Coming up next weekend on TNN, 45 of the best bull riders in the world gather in Vegas for the PBR Bud Light Cup World Championship. See all the action live November 6th, 7th, and 8th as Pay Dirt Week continues on TNN.
Building a nitro motor is akin to building a bomb. A Pro Stock motor is like building a watch. Horsepower gains come in the 1s and 2s. Even those small gains mean chassis changes. It's a challenge. Second round is next.
The Pro Stock guys love coming to this racetrack because at the last 4 national events here, we have had first-time winners in the Pro Stock like almost every time. Jaggy, San Martino, Mike Edwards, and we got a chance to have another first-time winner in Pro Stock. Before the rains came here at the Matco Tools Supernationals, we did run most of round number 2 in Pro Stock. We'll tell you about that in a bit. Don't forget, the champions will be crowned in both Top Fuel and Funny Car on TNN. We'll be in Pomona for the Winston Finals coming up in 2 weeks. Tune in November 15th, 7:30 Eastern, right here on TNN Motorsports. Now let's go back to the aforementioned round number 2 of Pro Stock. There's one of the guys that could win his first ever national championship event right here at Houston Raceway Park, but there's a guy that says that's not going to happen. Jake Coughlin in the Jakester, looking for that number 2 spot in the points. Still has that Oldsmobile. Loves the race car. It is a 200-mile-per-hour shooter. The kid in the near lane, deadly on the starting line. So much for Deadly on the starting line. Jaggy tattooed him out of the gate. Jaggy gets the win, 7:02 with his 4:43 reaction time.
Need to go back and change some ratios for low gear without a doubt. And was actually breaking the tires loose in 5th gear. I don't know if it's a result of some of the precipitation we got down here or not, but we knew Rich would be tough, and I think we were fortunate to get by.
Oh, don't tell him about that precipitation. You take all the suspense out about what's coming up. Kurt Johnson, the AC Delco Chevrolet, trying to win it from the pole position. His 3rd number 1 spot of the year. There's the Dynagear machine. Steve Schmidt, who has had some great moments at this track. He has also had some very forgettable moments at this track. Let's watch and see what he can do in the far lane. He would need to be right on the money to beat KJ. KJ, little bit of a wiggle there. Might have been that precipitation that Jaggy talked about. But Steve Schmidt at 7:03 gets the win, and KJ is out of here. Here comes the Cowboy, Summit Racing. Separated from his longtime crew chief, Dave Butner, with whom he set that national record here years ago. Running well now. This is a very good running race car. 680s last week, 690s here. If he wants to go to the semis, he's got to beat the reigning 2-time Winston champ, Jim Yates, in the split fire Pontiac. Can he do it? Nope. Gave him a good shot, but Jim Yates gets the win at 698, and he's looking to win for the first time since Pomona, believe it or not.
Birds are running. Everybody's struggling, but Jim Yates at 698.
I'll tell you, it felt pretty good out there. The track was a little loose down the middle, like maybe there's a little sprinkle, but I mean, the guy's done a great job. His Pontiac's rolling.
Well, this guy's talking about those sprinkles. Well, these guys would really be affected by the sprinkles. The red lights are on as Tom Martino and the Jessel valve train machine backs up. He was going to be the combatant to go against Warren Johnson, but the rain got a little too heavy. They were not able to run these cars down the track. That would be the last racing action we would see for quite some time here at the Matco Tools Supernationals. And there are those fans we talked about at the beginning running for cover. And we will have at least one pairing that we know of going into the semifinals. Jake Coughlin, lane choice against Steve Schmidt, and Jim Yates would take on either WJ or Martino. We got the champions and the contenders coming up in just a moment. Stay tuned.
With Houston basking in the glory of John Glenn's historic launch into space, we asked racers what they think of the ultimate ride going vertical.
You know, I tell you what, I was a little upset when they asked John and not me. I thought I'd have got first pick. But when I found out that John Glenn was going, I was upset because I thought they should have picked me instead.
You know, I was a space cadet as a kid. I never thought about going into space. I always watched it. I thought it was interesting. I remember watching them walk on the moon and all that stuff.
I'm going to try to get a ride on that deal. I don't know if just a private citizen has much of a chance of doing it, but I want to do it. I'm going to see if I can get on there.
Every kid wanted to be an astronaut. I think it's because my dad was a pilot that kind of inspired us a little more. You know, I definitely wanted to be a pilot, and if we were good enough, maybe an astronaut someday.
Our neighbor was John Glenn, just a few houses down, and we always got to go play in his house, and he had a replica of the ship he went around the Earth in, and it was 2 stories tall. So we always had that urge, but I guess none of us ever followed it up.
I did a little flying myself in a Cessna 150, and the only thing I liked about it is taking off. But once I got up in the air, it was like, now what do we do? I mean, it was boring.
Welcome back, everybody, to Houston Raceway Park and the Matco Tools Supernationals. We are in a rain delay. We've gotten down to the semifinals in the fuel categories, and half the semis have been decided in the Pro Stock category. Up in the booth there, I'm Bob Fry, Steve Evans, Ron Capps, John Force all with us. We're going to chat for a minute. John, I'm a little worried. We saw a whole promo for the Walked Away Series tape, and you weren't on there at all. You must be mellowing in your old age.
Thank God.
Yeah. It's the only way you'll get to be your old age. Hey, your car's been running very well here the last couple of weekends, and he's putting a lot of pressure on you.
Well, he has. He's a good racer. He's got a great coach, Don Perdomo, a great crew chief, Roland Leong. So we're just trying to win rounds, keep our Mustang out there fighting, and see what we can do.
John, you missed getting the record at Dallas. You ran 478, couldn't back it up. Here you have a couple of backups already, 483s, that would back up about a 480, a 479. You could still get that 50 grand from MB&A.
Well, you know, we talked about it. We talked to a kid named Johnny Stamper that's really done a lot of aerodynamics for us and really tried to help this hot rod with Cole and Bernie. You know, we want to push it, but not really. We want to win rounds and stay ahead of the kid here.
And the kids had an interesting day. No oil pressure. That's a frightening deal, man. The crew chief goes, send it.
Yeah, I don't think he saw me. Well, the guys have another gauge down by the motor, and they forgot to tell me that the one that was in front of me was broken, so maybe they're testing me.
And the wheel stand, I mean, where's those come from? Memphis and now here.
We're trying to keep up with these guys. I mean, everybody says, why don't you put a wheelie bar on it? Well, that's 20 more pounds. Then you got to put more weight in the front end. Well, you know, the wheelie bar is to keep you from going over backwards. Sure. If you got a throttle, you just get out of the throttle.
That's what your foot's for. Huh?
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting. We're starting to run out of rounds here and everything like this. You got to like your position right now, John.
Well, I feel real good. Coyle's taking our hot rod, made it run good. It keeps Castrol, everybody at Syntec happy. We'll just see how the day ends.
Everybody's happy. We don't know how this day is going to end, but we'll be back and talk to Gary Scelzi and Corey Mack when we come back right here on CNN Motorsports. Thanks to Ron and John. Whoa, that looks like fun, man, and I'm stuck up here in the booth. Of course, I'd probably get mud all over my tie and my nice shirt and everything like this. Oh, it's great to be a kid, isn't it? I'll tell you, a couple of guys that must feel like kids right now. Corey McClanathan, driver of the McDonald's Steam Machine, and Gary Scelzi over there, driver of Team Winston. First of all, Gary, you're leading the points. Where have these big speeds come from the last couple of races?
Yeah. I can't really tell you right now because Corey's sitting here. I don't know. Alan's been working really hard because our car has never run speed in the past. And we finally got enough fuel to his new cylinder heads. We've been working on them for a year. Now we've got the air-fuel combination right, and the thing is running some speed, and I'm liking it.
Corey, kind of tough now in top fuel. You can't make a living running 460s, can you?
No, not at all. And they've really stepped up to the occasion. Now is when they have to do it. And I'll tell you, they're running some big speeds, and it's breaking our backs.
Gary, this year is a lot different than last year. That was for Blaine Johnson. This is more for Gary Scelzi.
Well, I don't know if it's for Gary Scelzi. It's for the whole family,
Sure.
you know. I mean, Scelzi family, Johnson family. There's so many people involved in doing this. You know, we're on the road so much, and there's so much pressure. You know, Corey won't go away. It's a tough thing. You know, we keep going rounds. The car's running well, and that's a plus.
And you're having a lot of fun over there. The music is playing. The guys are telling jokes. You want a cup of coffee? You need anything to drink? It's a relaxed environment.
Well, we're trying to deal with it that way because if you worry about it, you're going to end up dying over it. You know, and it's a fun chase. Corey's a good guy. Team Winston's running really well right now, and it's a dogfight.
And Corey, I got to ask you, you certainly seem more intense about this thing. Interviews at the end of the track and in the pits. I mean, you just have a different type game face?
When it comes Sunday, it's all different for me. Virtually, we just need to keep winning rounds and keep up with Gary. But, the rounds are getting thinner here towards the end, and we keep on doing it. But they're so strong right now, it's just hard to keep up.
I've got to ask you, you've been runner-up 3 times. I mean, you're going to be disappointed if you don't win it or feel like the season wasn't a success?
Well, always a disappointment. I should like to put that number 1 in the car. But, I'll come right back next year with the same attitude.
There's a guy that's had a marvelous career, got an opportunity to finish second for the 4th time, if not chase down the Team Winston car. You guys just got to slow down, make it fair for everybody else.
I don't think so. Corey's too good a driver, and don't let him fool you. He's a great card player.
It's going to be a great stretch drive. Gary Scelzi leads, Corey Mack chasing, and as Scelzi said, he just won't go away. We'll be back and wrap it up from Houston right here on TV.
We're back in Houston with only 2 races left, and if you're not in the lead, time ain't on your side. It's a bewitching half hour, so don't get caught with your pants down. NHRA Today is next.
Wow, I don't know which is spookier, Gary Scelzi in a witch's hat or Steve Johnson semi-naked. Well, it is Halloween weekend, and you never know what you're going to see. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the beautiful Houston Raceway Park, home of the 2nd annual Matco Tools Supernationals. Great crowd on hand here. We have not had the great weather that we saw in Dallas, and it's a bit overcast here today, but we hope to get all the racing activity in. And we're going to start out with a half hour right here on NHRA Today Live. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Fry, and along with Dave Reef and Steve Evans, we're going to bring you up to date on everything that went on in the last couple of days during this holiday weekend at the Matco Tools Supernationals, and we'll preview what we're going to see later on tonight in our live 90-minute show on TNN. Now, let's take a look at those top fuel points. There are 2 races left to go. Gary Scelzi leads the way. Corey Mack in the number 2 slot. Gary Scelzi with 42 rounds won so far. He is currently the leader, and it's his championship to win or lose. Steve Evans?
It was 1 year ago today, right here in Houston, that Gary Scelzi clinched the Winston Championship, winning the final round on a ball of fire on 3 wheels. Now, you don't have Joe Amato first round. You got a guy named Alan Hartley, who qualified at 89 miles an hour. In its own way, that's scary.
It's very scary, Steve. You know, I remember a year ago in Brainerd when we had the cow car and we had a fuel line blow off. You know, anything can happen. There's no give-me's anyway, but when you got someone that has really no chance of winning, they have a chance of winning.
What did you do last night? What is your pre-race routine the night before?
Well, you know what? Normally I stay with the guys, get the car, help them with the car, just do normal things like that. But I left out of here about 7:30, went to Subway, got a sandwich, and went to bed. I was tired.
You've got a chance to set the national record again. Do you gamble with that?
No, I don't think we're going to do that. We're going to try to win the race. We want to go round after round after round, and hopefully we'll be here late tonight.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Bob?
You get about 20 points per round. Team Winston currently the leaders. They could mathematically clinch here this weekend, but it would take all the planets and stars winding up perfectly in line. We'll tell you more about that during the show. Let's take a look at qualifying over the last couple of days as Alan Johnson gets set to send that Team Winston car into battle. Here is Eddie Hill, the Pennzoil Matco Tools car. He has been running very well of late. Bruce Sarver in the far lane fires and falls back. Look at Eddie. 4.574, a career best, gets him into the number 4 qualifying spot. Joe Amato and Corey Mack would line up against one another in front of a great Saturday crowd here at Houston Raceway Park. They would expect to see a couple of pretty good runs down the racetrack. They would see one. Corey would slow. Joe Amato on this run goes 4.64. He also ran 4.65. Corey at 57. He's number 3.
I'll tell you, the guys have been working awful hard just trying to get back in the 50s. And, you know, to be able to run with Gary and Amato and those guys, we got to do something different, and that's what we're doing. We're paying off real quick.
For all practical purposes, we're out of the point chase. I mean, we're probably locked in 3rd, so we're actually looking forward to next year. We're already testing and changing some things around to try and win races, the next 2 races, but we're testing and looking for next year's World Championship already.
So we've seen the number 4 guy, Hill, number 3, Corey, number 2, Amato. You do the math. It's time to show you number 1. The Exide Batteries machine, Tony Schumacher, under the watchful eye of Bob Brandt, but as you guessed, he's not the story. Team Winston is. Scelzi, 4.549. Again, over 320 miles an hour. They're hot.
This thing ran all the way to the finish line, had the front end just kind of dangling up there. I knew it was on a good one. I didn't know it was a 450-something, but, God, this is just great. I'm loving it, believe me.
You ought to be loving it. You're in the number 1 qualifying spot for the 6th time this year. Look, Amato, Corey Mack, Hill. Boy, that side of the ladder is loaded. The Bakersfield Flash. Bruce Sarver still looking to pick up some bucks for next year in the 8th slot. And we wind up the 16. Mike Dunn still looking to win this year in the 10 position. And the aforementioned Alan Hartley out of the Federal Mogul ranks brings up the rear in a 16-car field. The pairing, Scelzi gets Alan Hartley. There are some great matchups in that round. The Hill-Vandergriff matchup should be fun. And Larry Dixon, the Miller Lite car, against the veteran Connie Coletta. Amato and Schumacher. You got Bernstein against Mike Dunn and Team Mopar. And the rest of the ladder on that side of the field. Going to be some great matchups coming up here in round number 1 in front of this capacity crowd here at the Matco Tools Supernationals, Houston Raceway Park. This special edition of NHRA Today is brought to you by Mopar, Chrysler Corporation Parts, and the Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge, Jeep, and Eagle dealers who sell and install them. We'll take a look at funny car qualifying when we come back on NHRA Today.
One qualifier for the 11th time this season. A purely amazing statistic. He will meet up with John Force, the points leader. Ron Capps has got past Al Hoffman in round 1 with a 498. Got past Jack Wyatt on a bye run in round 2. Bazemore got past Chuck Beal and Glenn Micris to find his way to the semis. Here's a look at that round 2 matchup. Ron Capps in the near lane. Jack Wyatt already shut off problems with his car. Think back to Memphis. Caps have problems with wheel stands. He does it here again, wisely shuts off and cruises down the lane. Advances on to the semifinals. And here we are in the semis. This is an important race for both of these drivers. Whit Bazemore has a point to prove. Winston goes away at the end of this season. He is still seeking sponsorship. He needs to do well here. Ron Capps, on the other hand, he entered this event 90 points behind John Force in the battle for the Winston Championship. He desperately needs to win to keep pace with John Force. Ron Capps is back in the same lane. He had the problem with the wheel stand. As you see, no wheelie bar on the Copenhagen Camaro. Capps brings it up again. Whoa! Across the center line. He stayed with it for a long, long time. Whit Bazemore gets the win. 504, 305 miles per hour. That car has not been into the fours since he qualified third with a 485. And this is a major shot to the Copenhagen team. They desperately needed to win this race to keep pace with John Force. They are going to be very, very dejected. Let's take another look. From our camera 6 angle, you see the Cope Camaro come up all the way off the ground, all 4 wheels. Capps gets back into it, brings it up. He looks like Danny O'Day in the Super Winch wheel stander, except he doesn't have a window on the bottom to see out of, and he can't steer. Crosses the center line, knocks out the cone. Whit Bazemore takes the win.
Cap 0, Gravity 1.
Yeah, well, when you're trying to run the number out here, man, you got to stand on it. And I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I'm not disappointed. I wasn't going to give up. I didn't know he'd smoke the tires or not, and I was going to run it through the finish line like that if I had to. Maybe the chase is over, maybe it's not, but hey, these Cope guys have worked their tails off. This 5-race weekend has turned into a major, major deal for us, but we're not giving up.
Knew you wouldn't.
And what a tough break for Ron Capps and the entire Copenhagen team. They are pretty much out of the hunt for the Winston Championship now. Here's the next semifinal matchup. Whoa, a pair of heavy hitters, Cruz Pedregon and John Force. And they have both been running some big numbers this weekend with some great temperatures, great conditions. Here's Steve Evans with more about that.
This Cruz Pedregon John Force pairing in the semifinals is fascinating in a couple of ways. Understand that in qualifying, Cruz reset the national record at 4.80 seconds, but has not gotten the 1% backup run required for $50,000 in MB&A bonus money. John Force, on the other hand, comes into this round with back-to-back 483s, both of which would serve as the required backup. If he can run a 480, a 479, he'd pick up the 50 grand. Force comes in with lane choice. Cruz ran a sizzling 9-second elapsed time in the second round yesterday. Understand also that these two have met head-to-head 4 times this year, and Cruz has won all 4 of them.
And I tell you what, John Force does not like that one single bit. He likes Cruz Pedregon, but not enough to let him beat up on him that many times. Both of these cars capable of running big numbers. Force has been to 9 final rounds this season. That's how he earned his position in the #1 spot in the points. And they don't get much better than that. Interstate Batteries crew, hands in the air, triumphant. Cruz Pedregon 485, 315 miles per hour to Force's 491. John Force took a 31 thousandths of a second head start. But then, the big green hot rod of Cruz Pedregon just outpowered him. 300ths of a second, Steve caught up with John Force.
All you have to do now is qualify at Pomona and it's over.
Yeah, and you know, Capps, I got to hand it to the son of a gun. He had the front end up. He wasn't letting go. He sat her back down, stood her up again. Real aggressive driver like myself and Tony, and I really love him for it. And we still want to focus, not you know, getting a plane wreck or something out here. But what it's really all about is trying to get an 8th title and to elevate NHRA. You know, that we've done something that Earnhardt and Pettingham guys done. We passed NASCAR with 7 to 8. Of course, Bob Glidden did it years ago anyway in a Ford, so it don't matter. I'm just happy. I don't know what I am. I'm just really surprised that Cruiser pulled that off.
And John Force, a lot of times we don't know what you are either. Whit Bazemore goes into his 3rd final of the season. In fact, the last one came against Cruz Pedregon. He lost that one. We'll see how he does here right after this. The only thing that has kept him out of the battle for the Winston Points Championship is the fact that he lost in the first round 5 times this season. Had a little problem through the middle half, but this car has been impressive. Both of these guys have a lot on the line. Cruz Pedregon needs to back up that 480 to win some big money, $50,000. Whit Bazemore needs to prove himself for his sponsor. And it's Cruz Pedregon, 484. The Interstate Batteries team is happy because they have $50,000 in MB&A world record bonus money. That backs up the 480 from qualifying. That is the new national record. So let's take a look at the Winston Funny Car point standings. Cruz jumps ahead of Chuck Etchells, moves to third. John Force in the lead. All he has to do is show up in Pomona and qualify. He will have his 8th championship. And Steve Evans is with one very happy Cruz Pedregon.
Cruz, that was worth $50,000 in addition to the purse. Congratulations, 484.
Oh, that is so awesome. I was staging shallow. I have been since Wes came on board. I said I wanted to be the best, and it's cost me on reaction times this year, but I owe it all to Wes Cerny. You know, he's I know it sounds like a broken record for the people sitting at home, but this guy's amazing. We had foresight. We saw what he could do. And for Joe Gibbs and everybody, you know, we had some problems, but we just signed a 2-year deal with Interstate Batteries. All those rumors about some chump driving my car, I'm the driver of this car. Other guys are just dreaming, get their own ride. But, you know, for Champion and Pontiac and all the guys, really appreciate sticking with us because we're underachieving this year. And, you know, there's 5 wins for us. We're very excited.
Shiny trophy from Matco.
Thank you.
Bob Chippendale from Matco Tools with the trophy presentation. 5 wins includes the Winston Invitational from earlier this year. And I tell you what, if these guys are underachieving, the Funny Car boys better look out next year. Top Fuel is coming up next.
Welcome back to Texas Stagecoach. Del Worsham once had a Top Fuel dragster, and this is it. Frank Gilchrist plans to run it next year as an A fuel car. And Del, you've got your own website, I saw on the graphic.
That's right, yeah. Last year we created www.delworsham.com. Been running for 2 years now, and it's a great site.
What do people want to know?
People want to know anything from why did you smoke the tires to the current point standings, do you wear boxers or briefs?
You've had a pretty darn good year.
Yeah, we've had some ups and downs. You know, the 4-second run in Dallas and a run up in Chicago, those were our ups.
We wish you good luck at the Winston Finals.
All righty, thank you.
Oh, by the way, what did you think of the Top Fuel action at the Matco Tools Nationals?
Unbelievable, Steve.
That's the only word to describe it. Jason Baffrey?
And much like the funny cars you saw earlier, there's a lot on the line here at Top Fuel as Gary Scelzi and Corey McLenithan in a very tight battle for the Winston Championship. Scelzi has cruised through eliminations to the semis. He'll meet Bob Vandegrift. On the other side of the ladder, it will be Corey Mack and Tony Schumacher. Look at Schumacher. He took out Amato. He took out Bernstein. But that one was a little rough on him. Here's Steve Evans with a little more on that.
If any team may have benefited from this rain delay, it would be the Exide Batteries car driven by Tony Schumacher. In the second round, he had a horrific fire. Tony was fine. In fact, the damage to the car was really not all that great. It just pushed a head gasket out. Now, crew chief Bob Brandt tells me that the weather is throwing him a big curve. It was humid and hot yesterday. It's cool and dry today. So they have lowered the compression on this engine. How did they do that? Change pistons? No. They have added head gaskets, not quite as much compression. They're afraid of making too much power against Corey McLenithan.
And that is something the Exide Batteries team does not want to do. You cannot make too much power and overpower this track when Corey McLenithan is capable of running 450s. The first time these two met, back in 1996, Indianapolis, the U.S. Nationals in the final round. Corey Mack won there. What can he do here? Schumacher up in smoke, and the McDonald's car blows up. Schumacher's back in it, and he will take the win. Oh, what a heartbreaker for Corey McLenithan. Schumacher, 562, 284 miles an hour. Let's take another look. In the right-hand side of your screen, you see Corey Mack blow the thing up, parts and pieces everywhere. You can even see the motor moving around. Here's Steve Evans with a very dejected Corey Mack.
Corey, I'm sure disappointment doesn't begin to express how you feel.
No, it really doesn't. You know, I've come so close so many times, I guess. This is par for the course for me, luck-wise anyways. But, I've never had anything like this happen before. I just, time. They say timing's everything. That was the worst timing I can think of.
And this will be the 4th time in Corey Mack's career that he has finished second in the points. Most of those times have been by a very narrow margin at the end of the season. Gary Scelzi, a little prayer. He knows what he needs to do here, and he's got a tough competitor to do it against. Bob Vandergrift Jr. in the Jerseys car. These two have met up 9 times this year. Scelzi has only won 5 of those times. Several of the losses that Scelzi took to Vandergrift came in the first round. Been a pretty good weekend for the Jerseys crew. Rick Castle, you see there, walking away from the car. He will finish out the last 2 races of the season, and that will be it for him. Rick Castle is being let go at the end of the season, and they have not announced who will be turning the wrenches for 1999 on that Jerseys dragster. And a little bit ironic, this has been the best weekend that Bob Vandergrift Jr. has had since the Pontiac Excitement Nationals, where he went to the final and lost to Kenny Bernstein. Team Winston did not get off to a good start in 1998. They were having some problems with wheel stands. About halfway through the season, they discovered there was a problem with their chassis. They went back to their old chassis, and Alan Johnson has made it work to perfection. They won in St. Louis, won again in Brainerd, then won the U.S. Nationals, won in Reading, and won last weekend in Dallas. They have been almost unstoppable. However, Bob Vandergrift Jr. would love to stop them here. He is still looking for his first career win. But things haven't been going well lately. He has lost in the first round of the last 5 races. 2 of those have come to Team Winston and Gary Scelzi. Scelzi gets the jump off the line. At the finish line, it is Team Winston, Gary Scelzi, 456, 320 miles an hour, 463 for Vandergrift. And what is a guy to do? He runs 460s, but loses by a car length. Here's Steve with Gary Scelzi.
Gary Scelzi inches ever closer to a championship. That was what?
That was huge, Steve. Let me tell you something. When Corey went out, you know, it's a shame McDonald's had to go out that way with that big kaboom. Thank God nobody got hurt, but Team Winston, Travers Tools, I mean, we needed that 20 points very, very badly. I'm starting to feel a little more relaxed now after that round win, but we got a final we got to go after now.
What a weak dog, only 320 miles an hour.
Gary Scelzi should be happy. He's run 450s 3 times in a row, all at over 320 miles per hour, including a new speed record of 326 miles per hour that he ran in the second round. He has an unknown commodity in Tony Schumacher. Schumacher has been to 4 finals in his career. Can he finally win one? We'll find out after this. Welcome back to this special edition of NHRA Today from the Matco Tools Supernationals. And speaking of Matco Tools, Team Winston announced earlier this weekend that Matco Tools will be an associate sponsor on the car in 1999. And it has been a stellar weekend for these boys and Alan Johnson there, the crew chief. He has tuned this dragster to 3 450s in a row, entering this final round. They hold the elapsed time record with a 452 set in Dallas a week ago. The mile per hour record was set earlier today with a 326 mile per hour run. And what will it take from Tony Schumacher to be able to get his first win? Can he do it here? A 410 reaction time might help. Oh, but the motor lets go in the Excite car. Scelzi takes the win, 455, 320 miles per hour, 4 straight 450s from Team Winston. And Gary Scelzi will go into Pomona just like John Force. All he has to do is qualify to clinch his 2nd consecutive Winston Championship, and he will become the first driver in NHRA history to win championships in his first 2 seasons in a pro category. And Scelzi's good friend Jim Head moves up in the points, up to 6th in front of Doug Coletta. And here is Steve Evans with one happy Team Winston driver.
Awesome is the only word I can think of that describes this weekend for Gary Scelzi.
Yes, it was. You know what? I tried to put it in shallow because I wanted to be the first one to run 4 450s in a row. And I heard Tony leave. Pow, scared me. I thought maybe he red lighted, but evidently I was pretty late. But it's been a stellar weekend. You know, Steve, I bought a new Monaco motorhome, Arlen Ness motorcycle. Now I can finally pay for this stuff.